I woke up the first night to the sound of my front door clicking shut. You know how a noise can slice through a dream and drag you into the dark? That's what it felt like. I lay there in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart punching against my ribs. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe the house settling, maybe the neighbor's car door carrying through the stillness. But the next morning, when I came downstairs, the front door was unlocked, wide enough that I could see the gray light of dawn pushing against the storm door. I had changed those locks 2 weeks earlier. After the divorce, I couldn't stand the thought of Eric still having a well inside. He'd moved across town, but anger has a way of stretching across miles. The locksmith had handed me the new brass key, and I remember thinking, this is mine now, my place, my peace. So why every morning was that door standing open? At first I blamed myself, stress, the wine I drank at night to help me sleep. Maybe I hadn't turned the deadbolt all the way, but it kept happening. 4 mornings in a row, always the same. Door unlocked, standing an inch or two open. By the 5th day, I called the police. A young officer came by, his voice careful, polite. He asked if I had enemies, if Eric had been harassing me, if I was sure I hadn't just forgotten. I live alone, I told him, and I lock the door every single night. You think I'm just, sleepwalking? He gave me a look that said, yes, exactly that. Maybe set up a camera, he suggested. So I did. That night, I propped my phone up on a little tripod in the hall, aimed straight at the front door. I went to bed with a sick sort of excitement, like a child daring the monster in the closet to show itself. At 3:12 a.m., the screen went black. When I checked in the morning, the footage cut out at exactly that minute. Not static, not interference, just gone. Nothing until 3:19, when the camera came back on and the door was ajar. I tried again the next night. Same thing, 3:12 on the dot. Darkness. By the 3rd night, I didn't sleep at all. I lay in bed, listening to the hum of the fridge, the whisper of the furnace, every creak magnified. And when the silence came, real silence, thick as wet wool, I sat straight up. Footsteps, slow dragging footsteps, climbing the basement stairs. I didn't move, couldn't. My throat closed up, and all I could do was listen. As they reached the landing, paused, then turned away, padding down the hall toward my bedroom. When I finally got the courage to throw open the door, there was nothing but the smell of damp earth trailing in the air. The next morning, I saw them, muddy footprints, starting at the basement door, crossing the hall, leading right up to my bedroom. I backed away so fast, I nearly slipped. My body just knew, before my mind could catch up, those prints weren't mine. They were larger, heavier, smudged like someone had been barefoot in the soil. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. My voice cracked as I tried to explain. But when the police arrived, the prints were gone, the floor spotless. They asked me again if maybe I was under stress, if maybe I needed support. I hated how their eyes softened, like I was a child who'd had a nightmare. That night, I locked every door and window. I wedged a chair under the knob of my bedroom door. I even took the old wooden baseball bat Eric had left behind and laid it across my lap in bed. I didn't mean to sleep, but somewhere between the hours, I drifted, and then I woke up to the sound of the chair scraping across the floor. The door handle turned, slow and deliberate, and I heard the quiet snick of a key sliding into the lock. I froze, not because of the sound itself, but because of what it meant. There was another key. When the door swung open, I thought I'd see a man. Eric, maybe. Some stranger who'd been living in my walls. But what stood there in the frame made no sense at all. It was me. Or no, not me. A version of me. Her face was pale, sagging, like it had been pulled from the water. Her hair hung in ropes, wet and stringy, her eyes too dark, and when she smiled, it was my smile, only wrong, stretched too wide, too desperate. She stepped into the room, dripping mud onto the floor, and whispered in my own voice, "Your place, your peace, you left me here." The bat slid from my hands. I couldn't lift it, couldn't even scream. She leaned close enough that I could smell the soil clinging to her skin. "It was always my house. You just borrowed it." And then she closed the door from the inside. I don't remember what happened after that. I must have blacked out. When I woke, the sun was pouring through the curtains. The door was locked, the chair untouched, the floor spotless. For a week, nothing happened. No footsteps, no prints. I began to think maybe it had all been a breakdown, the stress finally tipping me over the edge. Until last night, I woke at 3:12 exactly. Not to a sound this time, to a feeling, the cold certainty that someone was standing at the foot of my bed. I didn't open my eyes. I couldn't, but I swear I felt her breathing in the dark, slow and steady. And when I finally worked up the nerve to look, there was nothing there. Nothing except the brass key on my nightstand. Not mine. The other one. The first time I noticed something was wrong. It wasn't the furniture. It was the photographs. I came home late from work, tired, distracted, keys jangling in my hand, and there on the hallway table was a silver frame I'd walked past 1,000 times. It held the picture from our anniversary trip to Maine. Claire in her red jacket, me behind the camera, the lighthouse burning white against a gray sky. But the faces were wrong. The woman in the photo looked a little like Claire. Same hair color, same tilt of the chin, but the eyes weren't hers. And the man's hand on her shoulder, it wasn't mine. We'd hired a stager the week before, someone to freshen up the house before it hit the market. She'd walk through with a polite smile, tapping her chin as she studied the rooms. "I want buyers to see possibility," she'd said. "A house should whisper what it can be." Claire loved her. I wasn't so sure. Something about the way she moved through our rooms felt rehearsed, like she already knew them better than we did. But we were desperate. The divorce was messy, and selling fast meant splitting clean. So we gave her a key. When I pointed out the photo to Claire that night, she frowned. "That's not funny," she said. "I'm not joking." She picked up the frame, squinting. "Looks like us." "No, look closer." Her face shifted just slightly. She set the frame down harder than she meant to, and walked into the kitchen without another word. The next day, the living room was different. The couch sat against the opposite wall. Our rug, hand-woven, Claire's mother's gift, was gone, replaced by a pale thing that smelled faintly of mildew. Even the curtains had been swapped out, heavy beige instead of the patterned ones Claire had sewn herself. I called the stager, voice tight. "You've been in the house?" "No," she said lightly. "I'm scheduled next week. Why?" "Our furniture's been moved." A pause. "I haven't touched a thing." That night, Claire found another photo. This one sat on the bookshelf in my office. A family portrait, except not ours. The background was our living room, our walls, our shelves, but the people were strangers. A man, a woman, 2 children, all smiling stiffly, as though posing for a realtor's brochure. And then Claire said it. "They're standing where we were." She pulled the old copy out of the drawer. Our real family photo. Same bookshelf, same pose. Only now it was gone, replaced with these people we didn't know. I felt cold all over. We called the stager in, demanded an explanation. She looked genuinely confused. "I never set foot inside. I haven't moved your furniture. I haven't touched your pictures. That's not my work." I held up the photo of the strangers. "Then who the hell put this here?" She stared at it for a long time, her brow furrowing. Then she shook her head, almost imperceptibly. "This isn't mine," she whispered. "This isn't staging. That should have been the end of it. We should have changed the locks, pulled the listing, called the police again. But instead, Claire and I circled each other in that house like two ghosts, both waiting for the other to admit we were imagining things. And then came the night Claire screamed. I ran into the bedroom, and she was standing by the dresser, trembling, pointing at another frame. This one was worse. It was us, but not in any memory I recognized. We were lying in our own bed, eyes closed, sleeping. The photo had been taken from the corner of the room, like someone had stood there in the dark, waiting. My throat closed. This is a trick. It has to be. Claire didn't answer. She just touched the glass with one fingertip, as if she needed to feel the chill of it to believe it was real. We hardly slept after that. Every creak, every shadow was a threat. I moved a chair against the front door, carried a hammer upstairs, set my phone to record, and yet, at 3:14 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, padding across the hardwood. I sat frozen, staring at the bedroom door. Claire's breathing was ragged beside me, and then nothing. Silence, like the air had been sucked out of the house. In the morning, another frame sat on the kitchen table. It showed us again sleeping, only this time, the angle was closer, the edge of the mattress visible, the rise and fall of Claire's chest, and in the corner of the shot, blurry but unmistakable, my own face, eyes open, watching. I don't remember much after that. Claire left 2 days later, taking only what she could fit in her car. She wouldn't speak to me, wouldn't even look at me. I think she believed it was me, that I'd taken those photos in some sick fugue state, rearranged the furniture, swapped the frames. But I know the truth. I know because last night, when I turned out the lights, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror, and for a split second, it wasn't mine. It was hers, the stager's, smiling. The first time my son screamed about the closet, I thought it was just a nightmare. He was 3, still soft-cheeked, still clutching a stuffed dinosaur when he slept. Kids that age dream about monsters, right? But the way he woke, back arched, eyes wild, voice raw, it wasn't like any nightmare I'd ever seen. When I rushed in, he pointed at the closet and shouted, "Don't let her out." I started keeping the closet door latched after that. A silly ritual, sure, but it worked. If I checked the door, locked the latch, and let him see me do it, he slept fine. Most nights anyway. Sometimes I'd hear him mumbling in his sleep. Not words I could understand, more like replies to a conversation I wasn't part of. I told myself it was nothing. Kids talk in their dreams. Kids see shadows and make them real. And then came the night I forgot. I'd had a long day at work, the kind that eats your brain. I put him to bed, read the dinosaur book for the millionth time, kissed his hair, and turned out the light. But I didn't latch the closet. I didn't even think about it. Sometime after midnight, I woke to a scream that split me in half. By the time I ran down the hall, he was standing on his bed, shaking, pointing with a trembling hand. "She came out," he sobbed. "The wrong mom. She came out of the closet." I tried to hold him, but he shrank back like I was poison. "Not you," he whispered. "Not you." I wanted to dismiss it, chalk it up to dreams, but his little body was trembling against me, and his face was pale in the moonlight. "Tell me what you saw," I asked. He hiccuped between words. She looked like you, but she wasn't. She tried to kiss me. I knew it wasn't you. A chill rolled down my spine. Kids mix things up. They confuse faces in the dark. But my son's voice, steady, sure, made it impossible to brush aside. "Where is she now?" I asked. He pointed at the closet. The door hung open just a crack. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat in his room with the lamp on, staring at the closet until my eyes burned. The next day, I set up the baby monitor again. I hadn't used it in months, but it still worked. Camera pointed at the bed, wide enough to catch the closet door. I told myself it was to reassure him, but really it was for me. That night, I checked the latch twice, held it shut until the click echoed in my hand. My son drifted off, clutching his dinosaur, his breaths even and slow. I sat on the couch with the monitor in my lap, the little screen glowing green in the dark. At first, nothing, just a boy asleep safe. But sometime around 1 a.m., the static flickered. The closet door opened, not fast, not loud, just eased open like a breath, and someone stepped out. It was me, or at least that's what it looked like. My body, my hair falling across my shoulder, my pajamas, down to the faded logo on the shirt. She stood in the doorway, still as stone, watching. My stomach clenched. I leaned closer to the screen, heart hammering. She didn't move, didn't tilt her head, didn't blink. 2 hours passed that way. 2 hours of her standing there, watching my sleeping son. And then at 3:14, she took one step toward the bed. I dropped the monitor. By the time I ran into the room, the closet door was closed. My son was still asleep. The room smelled faintly of something sweet and sour, like spoiled milk. I wanted to burn the house down, call a priest, call anyone. Instead, I told myself it wasn't real. The monitor glitches. My brain twisted shadows into shapes. But the next morning, my son looked at me over breakfast and asked, "Why didn't you sleep in your bed last night?" I stared at him. "What do you mean?" "You were standing in my room," he said simply. "I saw you." The nights after that blurred together. I latched the closet every evening, checked it obsessively. Sometimes the latch was open in the morning, though I swore I'd locked it. Sometimes I'd find the closet cracked, just enough to see the darkness beyond. And sometimes, when I caught my reflection in the mirror, I thought I saw her eyes staring back at me. Not mine, hers. The last night came too quickly. I woke at 3:14 sharp. No sound, just instinct. My son's scream tore through the house seconds later. I ran down the hall. The closet door was wide open, and standing at the foot of his bed was me. Her hair was damp, like she'd crawled out of some wet place underground. Her lips stretched into a smile too wide, too eager. She turned her head toward me, and for a moment, I felt like I was looking at a reflection in warped glass. Two of us, one at the door, one at the bed, my son frozen between. "Mom," he whispered. The other me bent down inches from his face. "Yes, sweetheart." That broke me. I lunged, yanking him off the bed, clutching him so tightly he cried out. The other me straightened, her smile gone, her eyes black with fury. And then she stepped backward into the closet. The door slammed shut. I don't let him sleep in that room anymore. The closet stays nailed shut, covered with a heavy dresser. We've moved his bed into mine, just until I figure out what to do. But last night, I woke at 3:14 again, and in the baby monitor's glow, I saw her, not in the closet this time, in the hallway, standing outside my bedroom door.